Welcome to Talk Fast, Turn Left. This is Splunk's exciting new series where you'll get to hear some of our favorite Splunkers interview about what they're looking forward to most in next week's Splunk.conf 21, all while driving nearly 200 miles an hour around a NASCAR track. No, we're not putting anyone's life at risk. Much like Splunk.conf next week, this is a virtual event, all while leveraging iRacing to see which of our guests can record the fastest lap around Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Talk Fast, Turn Left air right here on Splunk TV each day, and we hope you'll tune in at 12 p.m. Pacific time. You'll get to hear some of our fantastic guests joining us, including Doug Merritt, Teresa Carlson, James Hodge, Juliana Vida, and today's guest, Spiros Xanthos. I'm Haley Ferrario, and I'm on the global event marketing team here at Splunk. I've been racing over the last few months in the Data Driver series. I'm completely new to sim racing, and it's been a blast so far. The Data Driver series invites all of you to join racing on iRacing and learn how Splunk's Data to Everything platform can bring data to sim racing and esports like never before. We hope you'll join us next week, October 19th and 20th for Splunk's .conf 21 for the fantastic stories from customers, partners, and Splunkers on how Splunk truly brings data to everything. If you haven't yet signed up, click the link in the chat or scan the handy dandy QR code on your phone. And if you are digging all this racing and esports action, be sure to head over to the data playground at .conf 21 to learn how you can get on track and compete in the Data Drivers Championship during .conf. And if you want to get hands-on on more of this data, be sure to sign up for Boss of Ops and Observability happening on October 18th. Grab your phone now and scan the link in the chat. Now let's talk fast and turn left with your host, Cory Minton.
Hi, everybody. I'm Cory Minton, staff strategist at Splunk, and I am excited to invite you to come along with us. We've got Spiros Xanthos racing today in iRacing at Las Vegas Motor Speedway as we get ready for .conf 21 in this series we call Talk Fast, Turn Left. And we're actually going to have a bunch of folks out racing, but the most important is Spiros Xanthos racing with us today, and he's going to be driving as fast as he can while going left in that beautiful car. Spiros Xanthos, VP of Product Management for Observability and IT Ops. How are you doing today, Spiros?
I am doing great. Thanks for hosting me.
Well, I'm super excited to have you. We've had a chance to give Spiros a few minutes to get prepped and get set up. Spiros is joining us from Splunk's Santana Row office, where we've actually got a pretty awesome racing simulator. You look very official there. I noticed you're not wearing seatbelts. Do you feel safe?
I feel safe, yes.
Excellent. Well, Spiros, tell me, how do you feel like this race is going to go? Now that you've got a little experience behind the wheel, how do you feel about your chances in the race?
I feel pretty good. My first time, as I told you earlier, but I have now some practice, so let's see.
Absolutely. Well,
I'm very competitive. So.
Well, it's obvious you were leading the pack around during qualifying. So what you're seeing here now is the crew is all the racers are gonna grid up, and they're gonna get ready to take off around behind the pace car in a guided lap. And Spiros, as we talked about, you're gonna want to stay. You're gonna have some cars. That guy right in front of you, that Mustang GT car number 3, he's gonna be your guidepost on your way out. Spiros, I'm curious. Do you think is the racing so far, the controls, is it harder than you expected, or is it pretty straightforward?
It actually feels close to a real car. I go faster than I could. It's very fun.
Excellent. Yeah, okay. Well, you're underway, so stay behind that number 3 car. And for those of you who have missed some of the things we've been doing over the last couple of months, Splunk is excited to be a sponsor of McLaren and their Shadow esports team, and we had a chance to run this series that we call Data Drivers. And as you can see on Spiros's beautifully painted car, we've got that Data Drivers logo. And Data Drivers was where we invited folks to come racing with us here on iRacing, as you're seeing here. And then after the races, we would actually take data being created by the racing simulator, stream it into Splunk in our observability cloud, and start to derive insights. And we would actually help people learn how to use Splunk to derive insights into racing data. in much the same way that we do with IT and observability data. So it's been pretty fun. Now, Spiros, you're about to go under green here. You see the cars are gridded up, or they're bunched up. Do you think you're going to win this one, or are you mostly out for your fastest lap time?
I'll try to do both. Let's see.
I like the competitive nature.
Let's see.
Well, very cool. Well, now that the race is starting to get into the way, that pit car is going to duck down into, the pace car is going to duck down to the pits here shortly, and we'll get racing underway. Now, during practice, we didn't quite get to 200 miles an hour. I was hopeful that we would, but how hard is it to control that car at like 170, 180 miles an hour when it gets a little squirrely? Is that fun or a little scary?
It gets a little hard, actually.
Absolutely. Well, the green flag is waving. Our leader is going to take us off, and the racing action is underway. Well, Spiros, your role obviously leading all things observability and IT ops for our product management teams at Splunk. For those folks who don't, sort of know why we're so excited about Splunk Observability Cloud and why we used it, the Data Driver series, I'd love to get your take. Like, what is Splunk Observability Cloud in your words?
Well, Splunk Observability, I guess, first of all, observability is this idea that as, let's say, applications and infrastructure become a lot more complicated, let's say containers, microservices, the traditional tools we had for monitoring for infrastructure, application, APM are not sufficient anymore, right? They cannot solve the problem. We need what we call end-to-end observability. The idea that you can connect, let's say, metrics, traces, logs, or otherwise infrastructure, application, users, monitor everything from one place. So actually troubleshooting becomes, let's say, feasible in these complicated environments. So Splunk Observability Cloud is Splunk's solution to this problem. It's based on oral data collection is open standards and open source based on open telemetry. And we have built what we think is the most scalable backend for this type of data, and kind of machine learning on top of it help, let's say, the diagnosis of problems as much as possible.
Nice. Well, speaking of diagnosing problems, you are right in the...
It's intense here.
You were right in the middle. Oh, no contact. Oh, no. He holds it straight. Well, I tell you what, you fared better than the other person who rammed you. Oh, and you got bumped again. Well, I think you're doing a lot better than they did. They've definitely sustained some damage. I don't know if they're going to be able to go on. Spiros, how's the steering? Is it okay?
It's okay.
It's okay. Okay, so you're going to have to dive into pit lane. And so remember, you just dive in down there at the apron, slow down as you come around. When you go around that next turn, remember to get under 50 miles an hour as you enter the pit lane. But you do have fast repairs set up. And for those of you kind of new to the iRacing platform that we're using here for this race, he'll have the ability to use this fast repair, which basically means like instantaneous repair of the car. And Spiros, yeah, slow down there. Perfect. Now, one thing you want to do is if you can multitask, if you can run that mouse and go click the button, see that says begin fueling on your screen? If you can unclick that checkbox, it will save you some time because you don't really need the fuel. Now you just go back to driving, make sure look for that pit marker to dive in where the flag drops. Yeah, right. Oh, you think you went past it. You have to hit reverse. The flag didn't come down. I think we may have missed it because you're further back in the grid than you were during practice. Yeah, keep going. Oh,
Yeah, got it.
You got it? Okay. Stop there. Yeah.
Or left.
Okay. There you go. It's a real thing. It's just like a real racing. Okay, there you go. Now you're clear. You can actually go. Oh, they're repairing you. Okay, so now your car's being repaired. That's good. And while we're doing that, you did mention something about open source and open telemetry. And that's the beginning part of it is how do we get data into the platform, right? That's the first step in any sort of data analytics project is how do we get the data? What exactly is Splunk's view on this open source and why are we so focused on open telemetry?
Yeah, so again, traditionally, monitoring solutions have all been built for a very specific set of data that they could collect, especially APM solutions that would instrument an application and collect the data. And that was all proprietary, which has the problem that, let's say, your data now belongs to the vendor that built, let's say, that collection and instrumentation and they collect it, which, I mean, if you're standardizing one vendor, maybe not a big problem, but in reality creates this problem that data is siloed, right? So let's say if you have proprietary collection and instrumentation for your infrastructure, and then different proprietary instrumentation, let's say for your application, then the end result is that you cannot connect all this data in some sort of a backend, right?
Yeah.
So the problem happens, you have to look at your infrastructure monitoring data separate from your application monitoring data, possibly separate from your user monitoring data. So that's very limiting, I guess, in terms of what we can do with your tooling. So our belief at Splunk is that the best way to do this is to actually rely on completely open standards, how we instrument applications and how we collect this data, right? So we are have standardized our observability data collection on a project called OpenTelemetry. So OpenTelemetry is a CNCF project that we helped start, several of us here at Splunk. It's currently an extremely popular project. It's the second most active project in CNCF, the foundation behind Kubernetes. So only second to Kubernetes, actually, in terms of activity. It has been adopted pretty much by every vendor out there, and many end users who have adopted it for the benefits that it provides, which is what I described, right? So OpenTelemetry tries to standardize data collection and instrumentation for metrics, traces, and logs, and potentially other types of telemetry that are complementary to these. And so Splunk Observability is what we call OpenTelemetry native, right? So our way of collecting data is through OpenTelemetry only, meaning if someone is going to use, let's say, Splunk Observability, effectively they are using OpenTelemetry as the data collection mechanism. And that provides the benefit to our users that they're not locked into some proprietary instrumentation. And second, it allows us, let's say, to correlate all these different types of telemetry, metrics, traces, and logs, right? Given that they, let's say, the metadata are all common across all of them. Meaning, let's say I'm facing a problem with my application, I can very, very quickly correlate, let's say, or understand if the problem is coming from my infrastructure, my container, my host, or the application that is running in one of them. So anyway, that's kind of our approach, and we think it's better in terms of what you can do with the data, but it's also better for the users because they can fully control their data. They're not relying on, they're not locked into a particular vendor's implementation for data collection.
Yeah, and really at that point, then the vendors have to, if you've got a sort of vendor neutral data ingestion process, then really it's incumbent upon the vendors to do more work in that enrichment and that use case development in the, the application of, okay, we have the data from a variety of sources and we have the complex data from, traditional logs to, metrics, traces, spans, right? We've got all this covered. It's incumbent on vendors like Splunk to do more and to provide more value to the end users and make, if everybody's doing data ingestion easy, then it's really, makes every enterprise's chance to derive value from data that much simpler. So that's fantastic. When, we're kind of looking forward to, .conf is literally next week. We're super excited to be going to Vegas in person and virtually. And for those of you watching, if you haven't signed up yet, you can still sign up at conf.splunk.com and join us, like I said, for free virtually. Or if you would like to travel out to Las Vegas and join you, I would love to see your smiling face, hidden behind a mask, of course, assuming the mandates stay in place the way they are. But thinking about sort of our forward look, I know we don't want to give away too much about what we're going to talk about at .conf next week, but what do you think about when you think about the future of observability and really what it means to both, sort of us as a company that makes software and technology to support organizations in their race to observability, but what does it mean to the industry?
So, first of all, I'm very excited about Conf. I'm going to be there myself in person. I'm really excited, actually, mostly because it's the best place, actually, for us to meet a lot of customers and get their feedback, talk to them, and that's kind of one of the most fun parts of the job for me. So we are going to actually announce quite a few exciting things about Splunk in general and about observability in particular. So for those who are interested, is kind of a great place to be, and our most exciting announcements for the year are going to be at Conf. I cannot share more details now, but I'm really, really looking forward to it. And I think the future of observability is kind of what you started describing, Cory, which is once, let's say, we standardize data collection and instrumentation and make all of that a lot easier and vendor neutral, really the value we can provide in terms of tooling is what do you do with this data, right? So I think it's all about, let's say, improving the time it takes to understand and you have a problem and diagnose it. Ideally, it shouldn't take minutes. It should say take seconds to know that you have a problem. And subsequently, it should be, let's say, as fast as possible to resolve that problem, right? So it's all about essentially the analytics and the machine learning on top of that data, right? And I think we're at a point in the evolution of our industry where exactly because we have standardized the data collection and instrumentation, say the noise to signal ratio has improved quite a bit. So we can actually improve our analytics on top of that data so that we can have actually a meaningful, let's say, a step function improvement, what tools can do with that data, right? In helping guide the solution, not just, say, dump the data back to the user and have them manually troubleshoot and diagnose every problem that might happen.
Yeah, I'm excited about it, obviously, because it is a place that Splunk has invested massively, not only in sort of helping our customers, that are traditional Splunk customers, as they migrate towards their cloud journey that I think everybody's sort of moved towards. But as the old saying, it's old now, software is eating the world. Everybody's a development company at this point if they're going to compete and innovate. And observability absolutely helps bring those development capabilities forward in the sense of improving customer experience, right? Improving impact on the business. And so I'm super excited to be part of it. One thing I would tell folks who are watching, if you're signed up for .conf and you're joining us and you want to actually get hands-on with the technology Spiros is referring to in real life scenarios, we have two awesome programs that I want to call attention to real quick. And one of those is called Boss of Ops and Observability. And so we have this gamified experience here at Splunk where our team has created real life scenarios with data sets that are very much based on real users and customer experiences. And it allows you to use Splunk's Observability and IT suite of products to actually go solve challenges that we've seen real world customers have, whether it's, code pushes that create challenges, it's changes in configurations and basic infrastructure that absolutely break business impacting applications and the ability for a company to make revenue, to fun stuff like data drivers. So Spiros, I don't know if you know, but we've actually got 2 episodes in Boss of Ops and Observability that are based on racing data. One is focused purely on Observability Cloud, and the other is actually on IT Service Intelligence. Both of those products I know you love and manage. Are you seeing more and more customers sort of blur the lines in how they're using those 2 approaches to more traditional logs and metrics, and they're starting to have that service-centric approach to delivery?
Correct, because I guess traditionally Splunk is such a flexible platform. You can ingest any type of data, and you can, I guess, do, if you want, like low level, like the device or application monitoring. Mm-hmm. But I guess when it gets maybe even more interesting, when you can tie that data, let's say some business outcome, right? So let's say at the higher level service or business modeling, if you wish, right? Which we can do very, very well with ITSI. And now, with observability, we essentially have expanded the, let's say, the sources of data you can collect, right? With metrics and traces and real user monitoring data, so directly from the browser or the mobile phone. So essentially, ITSI and our ability to monitor, let's say, business services has become even more interesting because we have a lot more data we can now connect together and essentially fully understand the business or the technology behind the business.
Yeah. Well, the more you get together with that car in front of you, I think the both of you are going to go faster. Just as a heads up, you're in 6th place right now. You're about 3 laps down from the leaders, but this is nice to see you getting in that traffic. If you can, you can get the drafting effect right there behind that car in front of you. Both of you get to speed up. It is funny when you watch. We had Blake Reynolds, who's one of the professional NASCAR drivers for McLaren's Shadow team, and he joined us and he talked about how important it is to get that train going, in NASCAR to get the maximum speed out of them. So good on you for getting that. maybe you guys can make up a little bit of time. Oh, you're going to go door to door with him. I like that. he can get behind you, right? Now I got to ask you, Spiros, what do you think is going to be harder? Do you think it's going to be harder to have a conversation at 175 or to have a conversation on the big stage at .conf?
So actually, this is fun. It's not stressful. I've been on stage at Conf, and that can be stressful, right? A lot of people in front of you.
Yeah.
But that's also fun. And one thing that I'm very excited about is how much like our users love Splunk, right, and our products, and I guess how much maybe it has changed their lives. So that makes Conf so exciting.
It is. That's all. Honestly, before I joined Splunk, that was one of my favorite things when I'd go to .conf as a partner, and you would see these stories of people who had bettered their career because of their ability to use technology, Splunk in this case, so effectively that it had real business outcomes that their employers recognized and promoted them and, really helped them develop their career, which I think is awesome. But, fun thing we should have started with, you've been at Splunk for a little while, but you didn't come here because you applied online for a job. Tell folks a little bit about where you came from, what you were up to before you joined us here at Splunk.
Yes, so I've been at Splunk now for 2 years, actually exactly 2 years, September of 2019.
Nice.
Before that, I started a company called Omnition. So Omnition was an observability startup, primarily based on distributed tracing. So we built an observability platform, let's say, for distributed applications, for microservices. We're also the co-creators of OpenTelemetry, the project we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And the unique thing about Omnition, let's say, was this our open source approach and open standards based approach, but also our backend platform that is, for the first time, we managed to do what's called full fidelity data collection for distributed tracing, meaning instead of sampling and collecting, let's say, 1 in 100 to 1 in 1,000 transactions that flow through the application, we're able to, let's say, build a backend that was able to scale to full fidelity, right? Collect every transaction that flows through the application. So I thought, and I think this is very exciting technology. I guess Splunk thought the same. So we decided to join forces. So Omnition was acquired by Splunk 2 years ago. And since then, I've been working at Splunk in observability, which is now the collection of actually 6 acquisitions. One of them is Omnition, 5 other startups, plus a lot of work that we have done, of course, internally, built like our entire suite of products.
Absolutely, yeah, it's exciting stuff, and clearly a lot of activity in the startup world that Splunk was eager to acquire and make our products even better through those acquisitions. So, Spiros, the race is coming to an end. How do you feel like you did? Do you feel like your lap times are going to hold up against our other guests later this week?
I really hope so. I had this bad moment early in the race, but I really enjoyed it. Right, I'd love to do this again, actually, just for the race.
Well, you know what? I'm glad you said that. That's a perfect segue to, if you are joining us at .conf, either virtually or in person, there is going to be a data driver's experience in the data playground. So if you want to race against Spiros, you can sign up. We'll have sign-up forms online and available here in the next day or two, where you can sign up for time in one of 8 McLaren-branded racing simulators that will be on site at .conf. So Spiros, you can come race again with us and compete for that lap time. But right now, we're going to hold you accountable to the other 5 guests that are coming up, or other 4 guests coming up later this week in Talk Fast, Turn Left, to see how you rank against them. And we'll have a trophy for the winner of Talk Fast, Turn Left when we get there. But those of you who compete in data drivers will be able to compete. Again, if you're in person, you can jump into 8 simulators. If you're at home and joining virtually, you can get on iRacing, and we'll have sessions that you can compete in time trials to get your fastest lap time. And then we're going to have a broadcast right here on Splunk's Twitch channel on Thursday, October the 21st, I believe it is, the last day of .conf at noon Pacific time, where we're going to invite the fastest conf attendees, both virtually and in person, to race against some very special Splunkers and have a championship race to see who the fastest drivers are at .conf. Spiros Xanthos, thank you again so much for joining us for this Talk Fast, Turn Left. For folks that want to keep up with you, where's the best place to follow? Are you active in social media?
Oh, yes. Not very active, but somewhat. Spiros X, my first name, and X is my handle on Twitter, if anybody wants to follow me.
Excellent. Well, we'll check it out. Well, Everybody, I want to invite you to come back here same time tomorrow right here on the Splunk Twitch channel, where we're going to be having another great conversation at speed and see if Juliana Vida can go a little bit faster or if she gets passed by Spiros Xanthos here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway on iRacing. Again, I'm Cory Minton, and I am super excited to have you along for this fun ride, and I cannot wait to see so many of you at .conf next week in Las Vegas and online. And as we always say, whatever you're into, be data-driven and join Data Drivers.